Everybody. This is Dane Gentry with the Standing Back Up podcast. How's everyone doing tonight? We're streaming live. We have my special guest, Mr. Jason Davis. Everybody knows him as Jason with a felony. Been trying to make this happen for a while. Got him a microphone. He's in the big boy world. We're ready to go.
For
What's
sure.
up, brother?
I joined the club. Hallelujah. Everything's great, man. I can't complain. Life's good on the absence of probably some of the things that we both experienced in this lifetime of doing stupid shit. I probably should refrain from using any cuss words the first 5 minutes to get past all the
all the little stuff. All
Yeah.
the censors. Man, that censor stuff, man, just sucks. Did you see that stuff about? I don't want to get on this subject, but just for a second,
roll with it. We got.
Did you see that shit about Alexa, where they'd ask her something about, tell me why I should vote for Donald Trump, and Alexa would say, I can't get involved in this, that, and the other. But then if you ask it about Kamala, it would say all kind of shit that you need why to vote. But they've changed it now,
right?
Because everybody on TikTok got to saying, hey,
there's been a lot of that going on with AI and like, especially with even the, it's been what, 6-7 weeks since the attempted assassination of President Trump.
Yeah.
And we don't even hear about it no more. And so,
nothing.
And so there was a period of time where you could go and ask ChatGPT about it and it wouldn't even register. Maybe not ChatGPT, but other AI formats. And it's just, it's a sad deal. We live in what we suspect is or supposed to be a free country, and it's not. And it's not me and you. It's not the people that live down the street from us. It's not the people that live in the bigger gated communities in our neighborhoods, where it ain't the Hispanics. It isn't the people from Pakistan. It's a very small group of people that are very, very wealthy, beyond measure. Which, hey, I don't have a problem with that. Good for you. But the problem lies in the fact that if they would be held accountable if President Trump is reelected, and if me and you were back in our day when we were doing what we were doing, good and damn well that it was all on the table if it kept us from getting caught. Anything, and so from that standpoint, I can relate to what they're doing. I don't condone it. I don't agree with it. I hate it. Matter of fact, I war against it. Not as much as I used to, because we both have been through the battles, of doing what we do and building audiences and labor of love. It's not really labor to get on here. This is what I enjoy doing. This is what when I think we both, when they turned the light on, whatever magic moment that was, because I think both of us were looking for the magic moment. How do I get this needle out of my arm or my neck, or how do I get what and after you get that done, the next thing is this. Someone tells you you're toxic as fuck, and I'm like, what does toxic mean? That's everybody else except me.
Yeah,
right. It turns out I need biohazard stickers on me, right? And so you come out of this deal, and so we get back, the only thing that's why you see it so much. It's so prevalent in our culture, ex-cons, and people that have been down the road with narcotics, why they pick up so strongly with God. Right. And we was talking about that earlier, before we started clipping, about the influence of the universe and what God plays in our life. And people struggle with that. But I was thinking about this earlier last night. I was laying in bed on a very big, nice set of chest my wife has. And I was thinking about, I was thinking about water and how water, because we've been studying HVAC systems, and how water has, there's phases of matter. Water gets cold and it's ice. Then it gets warm, it becomes a liquid, and then it, if we steam it, or it turns into vapor, or better yet, it evaporates. It goes in the atmosphere, and then it returns back into the world. It never goes anywhere. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so people that struggle with their faith about an eternal life, about a world that's inside a world, the possibility of a spiritual world in their lifetime, its existence. Just look at water, because it changes states and it never leaves. And I think that's what we are. We're eternal creatures, they're in this state, and and thank God that we were called out of what we was doing, and to help others, and that's not a textbook response. That's the shit I live for. And let's get real. I don't, as well as I do. I'll probably say some of the most embarrassing, humiliating things about myself, into a whole audience, and I don't do it for show. I don't do it for no. I think there was a period in my time in my life when I really went shock value when I first started doing this, and I thought, well, I'll just really wow them. I'll say some things, like when I talked about, screwing the drug dealer deal, that was tough for me. I'm a big muscled up dude, and
Yeah.
that was a real tough thing for me to say, man. Hey, I did that, but the one thing that at the same time I'm doing that, I'm listening to all these tough guys, like, these guys are real that we look in or inspired by. David Goggins, Wes Watson, all these, the list goes on and on. I'm listening to them all, and they're going, you will never understand what true freedom is. True freedom is until you don't give a damn about what people think about you.
That's right.
And I had to put myself in that uncomfortable moment to understand that, because that was probably the most uncomfortable thing I could say about myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt.
And then get ridiculed in the comments. And, I use you can say about anything you want to say to me, but you can't say it crazy, because, a lot of people read our comments, and I probably lose a lot of flow because of that. But there was a lot of, I caught a lot of flack over that, but, I hung in there and kept on going with what my story was. And now my story is, it might've had some of that shock value in it, but now it's just, it's about being authentic,
That's what you just hit it on the head right there. In the beginning, when, I let everybody know, Jason is the reason that I'm still going now on TikTok, because I was going to stop. And you was like, what do you mean stop? That's not a word we use. What the fuck are you talking about?
Take your break if you need to, but get back to it. Because everybody, everybody that stops, if I stop going to the gym, right? If I stop going to, to see my wife, or if I ever stop any of that, I'm prone to stop.
That's right.
Forever. I've done that. I stopped going to the meetings, and I went back to getting high. I stopped going. It is on and on and on and on and on. Stop. Here's a big one. There was a period of my life I stopped from going to see my mom and my daughter.
Oh yeah. Stop praying.
Yeah. And then didn't go see them and they lived a quarter mile down the road. Right. I mean, it was like, and so they would call me to see if I was still alive, just to check in, and I'd go over there and here, my dad's dying of cancer. And I would go over there and I would go see my dad, which contained of me going over there and eating all their sweets and drinking all their milk and eating their peanut butter and jelly and crashing out on the couch, maybe saying 3 words to him. And I'd wake up and I'd go at it. I'd go hit another run. That was where I was at.
That was your safe place to crash.
Go over there and eat their grocery, and my dad's dying, my mom's, she's like, I mean, it's obvious I'm jacked out of my mind, but, I've done some, so the moral of the story is that, through some revelation of some clear lens, you get to see my life. And I'll tell you what that's like for other people, especially my wife and my mom and my daughter. And, it's tough on them, but you will find out who really loves you when you live that way. Your circle will get real, real small, because I mean, they're all going to talk about you. They're all going to say what they're going to say. They're all going to be friendly to your face, but you will find out where you're at when you start putting your shit on the line with people, because people can't do that. It's just too much for them for whatever reason. But
that's a fact there, man. And most people run everybody off. My ex old lady was the only one that I hadn't run off, and as we can see now, even through recovery, things don't always work out, but that's recovery. Okay.
That's the big misnomer about recovery, is that everything's going to be right. And they preach that shit in the meetings. Like, hey man, it's going to be great. And boy, I bought into that, and it was a beating.
Yes. Because you're setting yourself up for failure mentally, man. And anytime you set yourself up for failure in anything in life, you're going to fail. And that's what you're doing. That's the problem I have. I have a lot of problems with the meetings. I go, don't get me wrong, I go to them, but I block a lot of shit out. We'll just say that. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. I don't sit there and call myself an addict anytime I speak.
I don't either. I'm an ex-addict, or I turn into addict after I have a couple of drinks, and I really don't. That don't really true. I just, self-talk's prevalent and recovery is a lot like having to go up a mountain, a real steep mountain, and we don't think of it that way because we pack everything. We've never been up the mountain. We pack everything possibly we can on our back. And halfway up it, we start realizing, hey, man, we got to get rid of some of the stuff we're going to make it up this mountain. And they don't tell you that because in recovery, when you start going up the mountain, you're going to have to invariably lose some things. And what you don't plan on losing is the things that you're going to lose.
Right.
Because there's going to be people that are going to go. There's going to be situations that are going to go. There's going to be family members that are going to, and so and it makes sense when you think about it that, if I'm going to make it up this mountain, I need to be light, lean, fit as much as I can. And so the dynamics, the mechanics of it are there, but you don't understand it in a moment. I mean, I can say this now, looking back after 3 years, that everything happened the way it needed to happen. And it worked out better than possibly than I thought it was going to work. But it wasn't like chutes and ladders,
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's back up a second. All right. How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Hot Springs, Arkansas, local boy. Went to New York briefly for a year. My dad got transferred he was with Unicard by Strat Corps, went up to New York, come back home. That's when I started getting wild. Mom had to move back. Fought nationals, fought with a world champion kickboxing guy here named Lafayette Lawson and another guy that fought on HBO, Dominique Gwynn. Fought a whole bunch of dudes for 3 years and got in the restaurant business, and it went crazy. It took off from the get-go. Got in trouble the year 3 of that. I was 26 years old and on my way to prison for, cocaine and other stuff. Mom and dad kept the restaurant open to come back after doing 3 calendars. Was good for about a year, maybe 13, 14 months. Went back to the sauce. Enjoyed some success. I had on and off moments, failures and defeats and victories. And, but the restaurant, because it was such a powerhouse restaurant and such a staple, I could hide behind that. I was just fucked up. People that was fucked up. But basically, when I would fail or I would take a break from wanting to be a normal human being, my mom and dad would keep me up, right? And God bless them. I love them. They were great parents, great people, strong people out of the latter part of coming out of the Depression, that era. Didn't have a pot to piss in, raised on a whiskey still. Dad fought in Vietnam, didn't say nothing about it. Just strong, hardworking, blue collar people. And so we ended up selling it because I wouldn't act right. They wanted out. They wore out. I said, cool. Sold it for $1.1. Financed $850,000 of it. A guy pays us almost $500,000 on payments, defaults, and loan, get it back. I go back to prison. Okay. Go get another 3-year term, come back out, open it up, run it right in the ground. Lost $100,000, just run it right in the ground. And, went up there and cleaned it up and then, reopened it and was on top of my game. I wasn't, let me say this. I was clean. And I think you can relate to this because once you get off the drugs, does not mean that your mental capacity is nowhere near fucking normal. And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, I look back on some of my behaviors and who I was 3 years ago. And I'm just not the same person. I don't think the same. And it took a lot of self-introspection, I should say. Quiet times in the morning, reading the Bible, reading Stoic stuff, listening to other people, listening to a lot of Navy SEALs, badasses, that say this, because I've always been one of these guys that would, I'm going to throw the first punch. I'm going to run you over first. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And then learning that, I was talking about this earlier to people, that when I read Jocko's book, he was talking about their first, line of action as a Navy SEAL and running into potential, adversaries and enemies was to maneuver around them.
Right.
And I thought these are the baddest guys in the world. And they're thinking about maneuvering around their enemy or or, meeting somebody in the street that wants to have a conversation. You're like, man, hey, I'm going my way. And that really impacted my life because I was always headbutt, leg kick, elbow, and without a doubt, I mean, was that kind of guy, brutal, violent guy. And when I started thinking about that, I started looking at some of the things that I needed to character defects. Recently my wife told me, we was talking about my daughter and my mom and the toxicity of some of our relationships, because I was like you, I had brought somebody through the addiction, and then we tried to get clean together, and addiction to clean together, and finally got clean together, and it just wasn't going to work, and my toxicity gave my mom and my daughter PTSD. They're not going to tell you that, but that's what it is. That's what it is. It's trauma, right?
Yeah.
And so when I got the restaurant back open and it was doing great, everything was running good. And once again, back to my point, I was very totalitarian. Even though I was clean, still the biggest asshole in the world, big guy, muscled up, didn't have a lot of leadership skills. But it was going great. Best it was ever been, people. And it burnt to the ground one day right there in front of me. I lost $500,000.
Wow.
The insurance paid very small amount. I took that money, went back to using, tried to do a few things, bought a machine, bought a couple wrong trailers, got clean a little bit, go back to using a little bit. I was at that point in my life where I couldn't use the needle no more. I'd run out of places to stick it. And so I was smoking
dehydrated,
just smoking a lot of dope, man, and watching porn, and I'd set it at the computer. I'll tell you how long I'd set it. And like I'm sitting now, not the same computer, earlier model looks just like it. Right. And I'd sit here and this chair's got armrests. And I sat so long like this, geeking, thinking people were hacking me and me trying to circumvent learning Linux and all this stupid stuff and Kali Linux and going through people's phones and my phones and rebooting computers and reprogramming and reinstalling. I mean, just on for days and days and days and days and days. People would be sitting around and watch my computer trying to talk to me. I wouldn't talk to them. I'd just sit there for days. I'd sit there so long that I developed, you got carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
And then it's medial tunnel in your elbow. I had pushed that nerve. So they had to cut both my arms. They cut both my elbows and my arms because I'd sat there so long, and I just turned to this big glob mess. And so we moved to the farmhouse with another intent, and that didn't work out. Y'all watched that on video. It's 2 years ago. Well, before that, I had moved here, and I had decided that I was going to get high again. And so I contacted some people, and the first amount I bought a pound. That's what that's what I bought. Yeah. It was going cheap. And so I got a pound, and that went pretty good, man. I was like, man, this is all right. She was severely pissed off. Not my wife, another person. It was toxic as hell. And so I actually sobered up. I had made it like to day 3, day 4. I wasn't struggling. I was, a little tired. I was out of dope. I thought, well, I'll try it one more time. And I got a bird. All right. And the bird came, and I had it 3 days, and I was running from the law. We'd done gotten into it. She told my mom I was using all this crazy shit here on the farm. And that's when I went to jail for parole violation. And that was during COVID. So it's 21, right around 2021. It would be 4 years next year. So it's 21 and in the height of COVID. And I had to turn myself in, and I was going to jail. And so I did get vaccinated, in jail. And then I went in there, and I was in jail, and I went in about 250, 260. I went to eating ramen noodles for 90 days. I didn't do one push. I would go to jail. I would come out looking like a Greek god. And but I went into this time. I didn't do one push up. I ate 3 squares and 2 soups a day. Could not see my dick. I come out. I speculate it was in between 320 and 340 because I know I had dieted for 2 weeks and I weighed 320 and my heart broke because I didn't get on scales. And but during that time, I was locked up. My mom had totally disowned me. She wouldn't come see me. My daughter wouldn't come see me. They had had enough. And the conversation had turned to, I think I've said this before, maybe not on here, but that conversation was based on, Jason, I'm going to die, and you're going to die of either drug overdose, someone's going to kill you, or you're going to kill yourself. And we have made a lot of plans for you in your future, and you're not worth none of them. And I thought, well, if that's the case, I need to look at that. And so while I was in there, there was someone living here in the same house that, I thought I could trust. And turns out there was guys coming over here and all this crazy crap. And then they attacked my mom and my daughter, and all this. And I'm in jail, dude. I can't do nothing. I'm ripping the walls. I mean, I want to rip.
You are.
And so when I got out, it was probably a good thing. It was a good thing when I look back on it. Because I had 90 days. I was locked up for 90 days, and I think I was mad. I remember counting them. I was mad 93 days. I was upset from the time. It took me 3 days being home for I really could
just get it out of you.
Right, because of what went on. I come home and we'd shut the power off, and groceries are still in the refrigerator, and they've been in there for 2 months in 100-degree heat. And,
oh my God!
I mean, and all my stuff had been taken, and everything I owned was gone, and just all this crap. And I'm telling my mom to stop them, and she's trying to, and the police won't help us. I mean, it's just a mess, man. And I'm in jail. And I thought, man, I will never in my life put myself in this situation again. And long story short, man, they would let you out for an hour on, to shower and call. And, and it was bad enough because sometimes they wouldn't answer my phone calls. And I would never experience that. They were always, about it. And I had to get my own attorney, and I had 5 on commissary, and all this stuff. And long story short, I would come out, and all these guys that I knew I had to wait or whatever all the time, I'd manufactured for years, come up with a whole new ways of manufacturing, from systemic fungicide to create catalyst, all this crazy crap that went across the world, went across the Midwest. They would come up and want to talk to me about business, and I would tell them, when I get out of here, I'm going to go do 90 meetings. And I meant it. And so I did the 90 and 90. And I think I went to meetings for almost 3/4 of a year straight. Haven't been in a while, but, made that commitment, and here I am. When I got out, I'm remodeling a house, I'm doing jobs, and I got guys that work for me, and I would send them to work at 7, and the meeting was at 8 a.m. And so I would meet them back at work at 9, but I made that meeting, and that was very powerful because my sponsor, me and him used to do, we went to prison together first time.
Wow.
And cooked dope and watched him. I watched him dump $5,000 on the ground, man, and fluid, man, right up on top of him. I was like, oh my, I can't believe he did that. We did a lot of crazy things together, but he had been straight for probably 15, 17 years. He had went to prison. He never went to prison. He met me in 99. He we were smoking in them days, and I rolled him a cigarette because they let you smoke outside. And I rolled him a cigarette in the jury box, and me and him became dear friends still to this day. He got out, and he kept he would the last time he got busted with a half gram and sent him back to prison. I said, how do you get busted? I mean, this guy was an outlaw, bro.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, I don't know. He said, man, but I'll never do that again. And he didn't. And now he's an ordained minister, and does a lot of great work. His name's Timothy Tagg. Helps a lot of people around the community, and goes into courts and pulls people out. I mean, but he was my sponsor, and he helped me work through a lot of things with some pains I had, and
right.
But we got through that, man, and then went to work, bought the wrong truck, bought the wrong trailers, bought the wrong semi, had to sell the machine, got a new truck, decided that I was sick of not knowing how the trucks work. Started school this semester. Meanwhile, in there, I've had some ups and downs. Plans changed, but God granted me a woman. Y'all, you see her on my Missy Loves a Felon. I met my wife on TikTok, and God's been good to me. And recently, my daughter, we had a big blowout over some things 2 years ago, and recently she's back in my life. So it's been well worth it. But it has not been like, you just don't. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying there's people that one day they come out of the water and they have the experience, and I think that's a great thing to shoot for. But if you don't have that experience, the rest of us went through it just like we went through the dope thing. It was a series of getting knocked in the head and refusing to give up, because it's going to be tough. When you start talking about how I'm going to change who I am, because there wasn't, if you asked any law enforcement in the state and they knew my name, the next thing was he ain't playing.
Right. He's serious.
I wasn't playing, and I've had to learn about that too, because I'm such a serious person that I forget that some people ain't, and they like to play, and that's okay.
I'm not one of them either. I've never been one of them people, one of them pick and poke and play and all that shit.
Right.
Oh no, sir. I'm not.
Missy is definitely that person, and that's my wife, and I've got to learn that, that some of that is okay, because
Right.
maybe I need to lighten up, and so it's been a good thing, without a doubt. It's changed my life. Matter of fact, it has been so good that I wish I had done it 30 years ago.
Man, I know that's right. Here lately, I've been meeting a lot of people who say that they struggle, man, and they struggle really bad. And even throughout all of my attempted failures or whatever, I didn't struggle like that. It'd just be like all of a sudden I'd just decide I wanted to get high and I'd go get high. But I never sit around having to chew my damn fingernails off because I wanted to get high so bad. It wasn't that way for me. Thank God. I mean, I'm not complaining by any means, man. But I think about that sometimes, and I think to myself, is it just you? Is that your mind where you won't shut it off for whatever reason or what? I mean, I don't know. I just know it wasn't like I didn't have those cravings, man.
Same guy, Timmy Tag, looked at me one time. We went to Louisiana to buy pills and buy cold pills, and we were in this grocery store, and we had one shot. That's all we had, split it to get through the day. And he stopped. We're in the middle of the grocery store, and he grabs me. And Timmy don't weigh 120 pounds. Hits me about right here, and he grabs me and he says, "Jason Davis, I'll tell you, I always say, Jason Davis." So what, Timmy, what? He said, "Look around." He said, "It'll never get any better than this." And I thought, you know what? He said, "It never will." And he said, "I'll tell you something," because I'd ask him the same thing. Why is it that I don't struggle? And he'd always say, it always goes to the people that deserve it, which I don't think that's a blessing. I think it's a curse. But he thought of me and you could be in the middle of the Sahara Desert, right, and see it stranded. SOS is out, big fires flaming, and see it, this reflection of an airplane, right? And then see them drop something. You'd be thinking, here comes the water. Here comes the water. Bam! Pound of dope right in your head.
Yeah.
And that was how it was, man. I never struggled for it. I had, I would get to the point where I'd be like, I got to have, I would crave it or whatever. But usually I had too much, and it was never a problem for me. I never had to break into people's houses. I never did any of that crazy crap. If people have, hey, I get it. Trying to make amends for it, but I did a whole bunch of other stuff, that most people probably wouldn't have done,
Yeah.
But it had a hold of me, man. It had a hold. And finally, I tell you what, it's the same. Everyone knows this, and this is where a lot of people, I struggle. I've got some good friends that are in recovery that are doing great things, and their mindset is to love them. Okay, and I agree with loving them, but I like to add the word tough before it.
Me
because,
too.
when I didn't, the only thing that won't attack a monster is another monster. You know, and
right.
if I knew you was a monster, I wasn't gonna mess with you, right? And so, or at least pack my lunch. And that's how, you know, I had to realize that the dope was a monster. And the only reason I figured that out is because it beat my ass for, you know, for 30 years. And finally it hit me one time and, you know, it knocked me to my knees. And
yeah,
you know, and when you look back at it, it had knocked me to my knees for years. But that one there, that hurt. But I couldn't do nothing about what was going on with my family or on our property. When I was surrendered to that, when I could not defend, you know, I took myself out of the game.
yeah.
Man, that ate me alive. It just ate me alive. You know, I was willing to do anything to never be in that situation again.
You know, me and my brother, I got a brother 6 years older than me, and he got in a little bit of trouble when he was 17. Ended up charged him as an adult. Anyway, he ended up with just a little 3-year probation stuff. He was in the county jail, and he was in there at the same time when I got all my original charges. Mm-hmm. And they let him come back here and see me on his way out. And he said, "Bro, I'm sorry you got to go through this, but I'll never walk back through them doors again." And that was in 1995. And he never did. And he's highly successful today. He just had that mindset. Hey, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I got to do to ensure that this doesn't happen. And that's what I did with my recovery.
Right.
That's just what I was on an airplane, man. And I was flying to Florida. And I got there and everything was trying to keep me from staying. It's one of them, you know how it goes. I don't know how many times you've been to rehab or whatever. But
a few times. Enough.
But I told myself right then, this is it, man. This is it. You're either going to do this shit or you're not, man. Mm-hmm. And I found my want to, man. That's how I like to say it. I found my want to. Mm-hmm. It's greater than that dope, man. I got a great life today.
Right.
You know, is life perfect? No, man. Is anybody's fucking life perfect?
No.
But one thing about it, I ain't sticking a needle in my neck.
Right. The old adage is that, you know, I got a hard life compared to what, motherfucker?
Yeah, compared to what?
Everybody's got a hard life. You know, there's just because you don't have a drug problem. Well, the neighborhood down the street lost their child to a drunk driver, and that, you know, the neighbor down the street, their mom and dad's dying, and you know, and then the neighbor down the street, you know, he found out that she's sleeping around and had been for 20 years with a coworker.
It
just goes on and on and on and on. And so when people say that, you know, I've got it really hard. Well, compared to fucking what? You're not dying of cancer, right? And people have a hard time with that, you know, but that comes from a lot of experience because you know, I made all the excuses you can make. You know, the barometric pressure was too high. You know, sun would line up with the moons. It was Thursday. You know, whatever it may be. And the worst, and the person that bought it the most was me.
That's right. There you go, right there.
You know.
We buy our own bullshit.
Oh my God, I could sell it and buy it quicker than anybody, you know.
Was meth your only drug? You didn't mess with opiates?
Very rarely, man. We would run into seasons where maybe you know, it was a girl thing, you know, where you know they were on it, you know, a lot of seasoned red dope, you know, the latter part of the phenol 2 propanol era had gotten where they couldn't handle it no more. And so they went to opiates, and back in them they were readily available. There wasn't like it was today.
Right.
You know, it's still, it's readily available today. Don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't kill you. And, you know, people are still getting pills and going to Florida and pill factory and doing all this. And, you know, and then, you know, about that time they come out with a fentanyl patch. Mm-hmm. And the thing was for that was to, you know, to water bong it, or, you know, like you do hemp or something. And people would code on them. People, seasoned junkies, you know, would take one hit of that shit and lay down and go in cardiac arrest. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Not me. It didn't bother me, you know, but, you know, I wasn't a real heavy user of it, but, you know, we occasionally do this and that, you know.
You were so high on methamphetamine is probably why.
Probably not. Probably I was, you know, probably, you know, in, but yeah, it would start at, and you would, the funny thing about it is you would see people that were going through that transition, and it looked bad enough on meth, but when they got on them opiates, man, it just went off to a whole nother level. They would lose.
My thing. Yeah. Bro, this is no bullshit, Jason. I promise you, right hand to God, if I was to do some dope right now, in 3 days from now, you could FaceTime me and you would say, "Dane, what the fuck are you doing?" Right. You'd see it. My face would be sunk in already. Mm-hmm. I lose weight and I gain weight so fast. I don't know what it is or why
Me
that is
too.
or whatever. But the moment I put any of those chemicals in my body, it's over with. I'm gonna tell you something kind of funny. I made a video about this meth stuff. So all I ever heard about it. See, I was in the penitentiary during the real craze, the shake and bake and all that
Yeah.
shit. I was in the
Yeah.
penitentiary during all that. Never would do it. And but all I heard about it was, man, you get out there with the old lady, man, you're gonna have a ball, blah blah blah. And I had
Yeah,
smoked it.
that's it. That's the only
I
reason to
had
do that shit. That's
right.
it.
I had smoked it and all that, but then I thought, man, I'm gonna shoot me some of it. And so I go and get some, and I was with my now ex old lady, and I shoot it. And yeah, I'm ready, boy. And I'm texting her all kind of shit. I'm on the way home. I got about a 45-minute drive home. I get home, and that motherfucker is like an Asian baby dick. It's just Drew. I'm talking about ain't nothing there but a little bit of a head sticking out.
Yeah, you gotta
And
give it a day.
we're on. Look, it's on video. I'm sitting there. I might as well have some tweezers, trying to do everything I can, trying to get some life in it. And then I go and get some. I call somebody, go get some Viagra, and I said, "What am I supposed to do? Snort this shit?" He said, "Hell no, you better not snort it." He said, "Just take one." Gave me two of them. He said, "Matter of fact, I'm just going to give you one because I know you'll take two of them." And so I took it. Man, in about 45 minutes, I was in trouble. It was too much. It wouldn't stop, and it hurt like hell. Long story short, but anyway, it was a disaster. So it doesn't do. If I shoot it, it's over with.
Right.
It's not any of that. But yeah, it was my experience with that.
I've done it about every way you can do it, and then probably some ways unheard of, And I had sold out. I had thought that was what I was supposed to do in my life. I had come home from prison and I had missed. They used to be able to get ANAP, which is ANAAP, and I don't know the name, but before I got home from prison, you could, up until the first of the year, you could have floated a river barge up the river, uncovered, wide open with a bill of lading. They couldn't do nothing about it because it wasn't illegal. But you could take that into a process of hydrolysis, which means I'm just going to pour acid on it, and it would make phenyl 2-propanol. Okay, and like 68%. And thank God I missed that, because I was dead set on doing the 1,000-pound thing, right? And and really showing out. And but the good Lord got me around that. Thank God, because I to be honest with you, man, if they had caught me doing 20% of what I'd done, I'd been there. I'd still be there, and for me to say anything less than that would be a lie. But that definitely, I was looking for a life sentence for a long time in some of my behaviors. Yeah.
All right, now tell us about all the stuff you got going on, man. I know you're a busy man. I know you're in school, but let's talk about your social media handles and what you gonna start your podcast?
We're talking about it. I mean, you've been the main force in that. I've definitely bought the microphone, so
it's a good one. It's a good one, isn't it? I like it. I like this microphone.
I don't, we putting it together. We got I've got 2 more Fridays on the insurance of the truck. And then I'm going to let it sit down, and then we go to school. Pretty much me and her both are in school all week. Friday, I'm off. She goes 5 days a week. And so we had rationed and saved some money to go to school. But, I think this semester I'm taking 19 hours. Probably won't do much this semester, but coming into the next semester to finish up, we'll definitely may even take a work study program full-time at a diesel shop and then finish my degree out. Or at least work part-time somewhere. I don't care what it is. I prefer it being some type of automotive, because that place is on the work history of the ASE. And so the whole idea is to get certified. But yeah, I'm on all of media, social media. I'm very popular on TikTok more so than anything. Facebook and X and Instagram's got some stuff. Of course, on Rumble, we started pushing all our stuff on Rumble because of censorship, and it's been a slow start. But it's catching on, and it's a different format than what a lot of people watch Rumble for. But, I regularly add phone calls, and of course we're doing what we're doing. We decided that, after talking with the mentorship that I have in my life, that we would, take a year and practice being married before we went on this crazy, we're going to save the world deal, which is definitely in the deal. That's part of the program of the diesel mechanics, is to come back and open up and then open up felon diesel and duty, and then exploit the felon name. Because there's 24 million Americans, almost 9%, a little bit over 9% of the population that register as felons. And of those felons, I can't tell you the true numbers that are still serving sentences, but the fair majority are not. And so it's real passionate on me to bring to the light that people deserve a second chance. And if I've served my sentence, then I should have my rights restored to me.
Without
and
a
so
doubt.
I want to bring that to the light. We want to take that. We want to start a small program, pilot program. I've not talked to the county judges yet, but once we get this thing in play, we're taking a couple of inmates, alternate sentencing, 9-month program, teach them how to drive a truck and pay them to work in his shop. Of course, charge them rent and board. They got to pay for their own groceries and everything else, and then push them through some type of structured program with church, with meetings, with physical activity and working out, and then give back and possibly turn that into a reality TV show. So we've got some pretty big plans. And I think everyone needs some big plans. I think you need to have big plans because that's the only thing that's going to inspire the hearts of men.
Right? Without a doubt. We all need big plans, man. I like that idea. And I think the judges and stuff will go for it. I mean, anything like that, man. Here, we don't have nothing here, man. Tennessee, man, is just behind on anything. They built a big brand new prison. It's supposed to be
absolutely.
It's supposed to have the mechanic shop and heating and air, AC, masonry, and they decided they was just going to turn it into the classification. So none of that stuff is getting used for nothing. It just sits
not
there.
Getting utilized.
Nope, and they don't teach you shit.
Prison serves a purpose. I don't want to sit here and tell you that, hey, we don't need prisons, but I will say this about prison. The whole concept of prison for society is for the problems to go away and not be looked at. And that presents its own set of challenges because unlike other areas of the government, legislature, law enforcement, on and on, civic boards and housing developments and this and that, prison doesn't really have a review board. And so you have prison off on itself, which accumulates a large amount of tax dollars and is unsupervised. And so it's kind of its own little, it's a world inside a world, right? Right. And I get that, but I don't think the American public understands the amount of waste and just underperformance and bloat and everything that's in a prison. If they did, I think they would have a more conscious effort to maybe look at some different alternatives. Listen, they need you're going to have knuckleheads. Okay. And where I disagree with the prison plan is if you got lifers, you need to put all the lifers together. And if you got guys doing 2 or 3 years, you need to put them together. And then if you got some guys that are doing 10, 15, you need to put them together. And then you draw out of those deals because the guys that are there 2 or 3 years, they need to be in some type of technical trade program today.
I think Arizona does it like that. Don't quote me on that. But I was told that Arizona does split them up like that. By time. Now, I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to take let's take a whole chain of people from 1 year to life and put them together and then have them interact and then wonder what the hell's wrong. And there's nothing wrong with lifers. There's nothing wrong with, I get it. I'm not trying to speak at, but there's 2 or 3 different mindsets there. From the guy that thinks he's going home to the guy that knows he's going home to the guy that knows that he's not going, right? And the people that know they're going home, we're not with the amount of skilled trades that we're deficient in America right now. There's prime fertile land, and you're going to have some knuckleheads show up in the classes. And what you need to do is build a curriculum and a program that doesn't put up with it. Hey, you're out.
Yeah.
That way you get the people.
If they would do that and then stick to it. I mean, it'll start off a good thing, and then we already know what it'll get turned into.
But this idea that me and you are taxpayers, all right? And after a certain period of time, you're going to get all paper, and you're going to get, if you're lucky, there's if you're 45 of the 50 states, you're going to get your voting rights back. Okay, great. And there was a time when your voting rights were one of them, you would die for them, right? But at the same token, you didn't lose all these other rights,
right?
And so the rights like your right to defend your family in your own home, rights like, hey, I want open up a liquor store or have a restaurant with a liquor license. A lot of the general contracting financial laws, not to mention lawyers and doctors and all these other medical and upper professional licensings that states provide. And better yet, one of the probably the most important one is on the infamous crimes that are, that they use to limit who can run for a local and public office within your state, is a very powerful tool to keep people that have been through some things, that have found a solution, that can offer a solution to the community, that have more of a wide view and appeal for people that are common, because everyone has a drug addict in their family now.
Right.
And believe it to me, if you have enough money, and you're politically connected, your chances of your son doing 17 years on some type of hyped up federal fentanyl case is, slim to none.
I know a boy right now whose son fixing to go do a 12 because the boy died.
Right.
Man, he's 20 years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
Man, but you play, you got to pay.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so here's the argument: is that this has always been the argument. I think it's a piss poor argument that there is some type of disease associated with addiction. All right, and I think that people, when you get hung up on withdrawals and opiate abuse, or you've been up for a long time, you need the drugs. I think there is a chemical need to have that in your system to operate, if you want to call it operating. But the problem is the government labels it a choice.
Right.
They sentence it as a choice. And so you've got two opposing thoughts, and you ain't going to win against the government. And so I think we're doing everybody a great disjustice by convincing them that there's some disease with any of it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to sentence you as if you're a fucking criminal. All right.
Right.
And when do they start sentencing people for cancer?
Exactly.
Or blood pressure or diabetes. I'm going to put you in prison for 12 years. And that's what they're saying. They're saying that this problem is a medical condition. It's part more of the smoke and mirrors of our society.
Right. Yeah.
It's a fucking choice.
That's a choice. The only thing that's going to change, man, is people like us continuing, man, to be a light on the hill for others to see. That's what Jesus said anyway. Be a light on the hill, man. Right. Be a light on the hill for others to see we can do this, man, and we can do this. And Jason, it's now Jason with the felonies. No,
right. We went plural, which is true. I have more than one. I think I have 9 or 8.
I need to make me a backup account. I made one, but I haven't never done nothing with it. But mine's back in good standing now so far. Right. So
Amen.
I might listen, man. I say pew pew and I say unalived. I do all that. Once they sent me a little bit of money, I said, shit, I got to do this shit right.
Right.
All right, listen.
It'll change you, man. Whenever you, this is my 4th account, and the first 3 were
really,
I've been done up, and I was smart enough to start this one back in the deal and just feed. What I would do was I'd feed all the videos that I thought would get banned on this one, and I just eventually forgot about it. And so when I come back to it, I had a couple of strikes, but I was able to get it going, and I changed. I still feel passionate about all the issues I feel. I just gotten more conscious about what it takes to get where I was at, because I had to have many followers, and it was over.
That's a lot, man.
400, almost 400 something thousand. And so, that was a big lick. And and I was like you, man, I was like, F this, man, I'm ready to quit, and you can't live that way. There's so many things that, especially if you're going to expect people to believe you when you tell them, hey man, you can't quit, and you're a quitter.
That's right. Without a doubt. Jason with the family, y'all go on all platforms, man. He's everywhere on social media. He is going to be everywhere. Y'all will be hearing his name on here a lot. He's a friend of mine. I'm honored to say that. And that's
absolutely,
if nothing else ever comes good from TikTok, that did. And I'm glad of that. Thank you, my friend, for coming on.
Absolutely, man. I love you, Dane.
Love you too, man.
I pray the best for you in what you're doing, and that you're able to, do great. Well, I don't think it comes to question about being able to. I think both of us had the potential to do greater things than what we could ever imagine. But what it is it gets down to what is the price that we're willing to pay, and the price is very simple. We would have paid anything to get high.
Yep, without a doubt. Didn't matter.
Didn't
If
matter.
you had it and I didn't have it and I needed it,
Didn't
you
matter.
know the deal.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I love you. Thank
Love you,
everybody
God
that came
bless you.
by.
Okay.
Dever Vision and Billy, I see y'all. Thank y'all. I was trying to respond to y'all. Somebody named Billy said, "What's up, fellas?" I don't know if it's somebody you may know.
Don't
Jason.
know.
Anyway,
Maybe.
thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming back up. Remember, man, the whole deal is standing back up. We all drop down, knock down, get knocked down, fall in the hole, get back up. The idea is standing back up, man. If we stay down, we're never gonna get nowhere. But if we will stand up, what you'll find out is that strength that you got, man. You got to be stronger in your mind. That's what it. Once you overcome the sickness and all that good stuff, it's all about the mind, man. We got to be better than that. That's all it is. All right, buddy. God bless, and everybody
God
be
bless
good.
you. All right. Thank you, Dane.
Yes, sir. See you, man.
Bye bye.